We're back in the ASEAN Champion Podcast, a platform for inspiring stories that opens the doors of opportunities for the ASEAN people. This episode will explore the startup ecosystem in Lao PDR with Pasong Lattana. He is the founder and CEO of GoTeddy, an online delivery service startup with a vision to reach all individuals in an untapped market to have access to everything and anything with just one simple click. So, without further ado, let's have the head-to-head discussion with the expert, Pasong Lattana. Okay, thank you so much for joining us today in our ASEAN Champion podcast, Pasong. It's a pleasure to be able to sit down and chat with you virtually to explore the startup ecosystem in your country, straight from the expert. Because for the folks listening today, we're here with the founder and CEO of GoTeddy. So, hi, Pasong.
Hello, hi guys.
Okay, so without further ado, let's explore something general to start. To be honest, I did a bit of research before this discussion, and I noticed you spent some time abroad, but you launched GoTeddy in Laos, right? So I'm curious, what made you decided to launch the startup here in there in Laos?
Yeah, so that's a very good introduction. So let me walk you through the journey of the GoTeddy and my personal life in the past years before setting up the company in Laos. So basically, I spent almost 8 years abroad, including Singapore and the UK. I was 4 years in Singapore during my high school there, and I attended my university degrees in the UK in the CAS Business School, London. And after I finished my degrees in the UK, I decided to come back to Laos to do my own business. But initially, I didn't really plan to launch this startup. But it was just that during my second year in the university, I was doing the dissertations for my university
Yeah.
course. So that was like the topic that I did, and I spent almost 2 years doing R&D about this field, like a delivery startup industry and stuff. I learned about the business models of Uber Eats, Deliveroo. I even tried to become like a part-time riders back in the UK like a few
Wow.
times just to see like how is it like to be a riders, and at the same time to understand like the whole business process and supply chains about logistic and deliveries back then. And yeah, because every time I came back to Laos, I feel like this country we need more of like a digital service, something that can bring in the convenience to the citizen in the countries. So the idea just came like I look back to my dissertation. I was like, this can really happen if we really want to execute it. It's just that there was a certain technical part that I didn't really get it. So at the beginning, I really like looking for a partner who is good at like the technical expertise. So once I came back home, I talked to my friends, talked to everyone surrounded me, asking if they want to join my team. So I was lucky to have like one guy who is like local to join the team, and then we start doing some like prototype and demos to see how is it like, and to show people because this kind of business is like very new to the people here. So I guess we were like the first mover in Laos, the company that launched and introduced the e-commerce or like online delivery service. So the first 3 months that we launched, we already got like many tractions without doing any like marketings or advertising. It's just like word of mouth. So that's the beginnings of my journey. So that's lead me to start the business. And right now, I've been managing the company for almost 2 years now. Yeah.
2 years ago. Okay. So in the first launching part, how was the target audience? How was the market respond to your product, to GoTeddy?
When we first launched the product, it was just like a very niche market, and a very small societies that knows about GoTeddy, because we started with like our own friends, like a group of communities where we had like 50 people. So basically, we didn't really have like a very big budget to do like launching events or to do launch the product. So I asked like the corporations from all of my friends who are like micro influencers and things like that to post everything at once on the first day that we launched. And because of the branding itself, that is very lovely, I would say, that really grabbed attention from the peoples, because we also got like many transactions, many downloads in the first month of launching the business. So within like 2 weeks, we already hit like 200 orders per day without doing any like marketing. So that's also indicates the strength and the potential of this business. If we can implement a very strategic marketing strategies, then this could become like a very huge business in Laos. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's like the start of ecosystem though. You gradually or slowly evolving from small to a bigger area, right? So it's fair to say that the startup ecosystem is still emerging in the Southeast Asia, including your country. But we could see that many people are starting to contribute directly to it and make it more richer. So, in your opinion, what is the biggest challenge when you first launch a startup? So that the people who are listening today can prepare themselves before having their own.
I guess like we face a very unique challenge where other country might not encounter this part of the challenge and problems. So the things that we face initially, it was like the newness of the business itself that made us very very hard to communicate with the peoples and to educate them of how this kind of service work. I mean, like at the beginning, there was like a certain group of peoples who already understand about the business and can immediately adopt it, But in terms of the big scales, we still find it like very hard to educate peoples of how this is working, until we had like a big competitor enter the market. So things become like very easy because the competitors also helps in educating peoples and citizens in the country to be more adopted with the tech service. The second challenge that we faced was infrastructures. We had some kind of like uh, issues about the internet connections and Wi-Fi, because like this kind of ecosystem we always needs like internet network or Wi-Fi 24/7. But in Laos we don't really have this. How would I say this, like a very advanced Wi-Fi package where you can just like subscribe like monthly package, like maybe 6 month package. Everyone use this system where they top up manually by themselves. Like this, for example, like this is the package that I'm using right now. It's a three day package. I have to subscribe every 3 days. If I forgot to subscribe or if my data's run out of internet, I will just run out of internet immediately. And the important thing is like we are managing like thousands of merchants. Some merchants they have Wi-Fi, that's lucky. But some of them they don't really have Wi-Fi, and we need to rely on the connection of their Wi-Fi and internet sometimes. Sometimes the problems might happen like the customers order food, but the restaurants don't have any notifications coming up. So this order become like a very delayed order. So the company has to ring up the restaurants asking like, oh, what is wrong with the orders? Why you don't accept? So that the answers would be like, oh, we forgot to top up the internet. That kind of like small things but can become like a big things because of the infrastructures in general. And the third challenge, which is very important as well, is the policies, regulations, and legal terms. because right now we don't really have like a clear framework for e-commerce or startup business. Even the license itself, they don't really support the startup, but the government is trying to create a framework. I think that it will be like available soon, but there's so many things that is still unclear because the government have been saying like all the tech startups should be like tax exemptions, but they don't really have like the official documents. So even right now we have like a staff coming from like the tax departments, bringing up like these kind of things. So there are many things that remains unclear, and yeah, I think that's the hard part. And another challenge would be like accessing into fundings because the ecosystem here is still like very new. We don't have so many VC. We don't really have so many angels. We just started to have like a small incubators and a small accelerators. So and funding is like the main things for a startup. So without these capitals, none of the startup would be able to grow. So that's the main challenge that I think most of us are like facing in these regions. Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually very great for startups if we have like interconnectivity within the region, right? And it's quite funny to know that technology is here to help us, but in the same time giving us problems in the
Yeah.
modern world. Okay, so to sum up from that discussion just now, technology, especially GoTeddy, wants to bring them to the market, helping the lives of the people with the help of technology, especially during the pandemic, right? People are pushed to adopt technology in a snap. But of course, there's limitation in execution, like what you said, what you mentioned. For example, that people are not digitally savvy, not just the vendors, but also the consumers. So, what is your strategy to introduce this new technology to the people at the first time?
That's a very good question, Zach. So I guess like the strengths or the strategies of our company is the mainly cultural understandings because the ways that we build our platform we base on the consumer behavior in these regions and their levels of understandings. So we start building the platform with the local language, which is very weird. So we use like the local language instead of having like the English and then translate it to local. We started with local. None of them are in English in the beginning because we didn't want it to confuse people, and we knew that this kind of thing is like very new, very new for them. So even like the USA experience, the workflows of the platform, we are trying to make things like very easy with a few simple steps, and then you can just get your food immediately. We didn't really add like many features and functions to confuse people like, oh, where to click if I want to order food, should I click here or there? Like this is the problems where developed country they won't have this kind of challenge anymore because everyone is just like very educated. Everyone is like already familiar with the technology. But for us, it's just like very, very different. So our strategy is to be able to understand the nature of the behaviors so that we can build the platform based on that. So yeah, even right now, main of the content is in like local language. The app is full of the locals. English is just like the optional language for the app. So this is how we really captures the locals customer attentions at the beginning. Um, Another strategies will be like collaborating with the local businesses and governments bodies to boost your credibilities. Working with the governments in Laos also give us some benefits because the governments also really help on pushing us into like international states, like sending us to go to like Korean startup in Korea and things like that. So that's also help. That's part of the strategies that we use as well. We work with UNDP right now, So it's like an
Okay.
NGO organization.
Awesome.
So the project will be released next month. We are working with the UNDP to on the scope of environment protection. So right now we are trying to minimize the use of plastics bag. So we got some collaboration with UNDP to provide like sustainable packagings and recycles materials and this kind of thing. Yeah.
That's really nice. I mean, the reducing of plastic use itself is like a big step. And from a startup like you to make big changes, I think it's very exciting to see, right? So while we're in this discussion about technology, I must ask, um, what did you see the impact of GoTeddy makes to the consumer? Especially that GoTeddy can contribute to an environment as well, right? So
You mean like to the consumers or to the country as a whole?
we can start from the consumers and then to the country. We can explore there.
I mean, obviously, what we have been contributing so far is to bring in the convenience to the peoples and to the consumers, allowing them to access into services that they can't really easily access. And the visions of GoTeddy is bigger than just doing food deliveries, which I'll be explaining now about the vision of the GoTeddy. So basically, what we really want to contribute to this country is we want everyone's, whether people who are in the rurals or like the urban areas, everyone need to be able to access into necessary service, whether it's gonna be like food, groceries, healthcare, hospitalities, and all these things, shipping. Actually, we have the visions to create like a super app, as you guys know. But right now, everybody see us as like a food delivery company because we already have food delivery and grocery shopping only. But we will have another four services to launch, and I'm pretty sure that with this new four services that we are trying to launch, we can really massively contribute to the societies where we can move things or parcels or any things that move from like in the capitals to like outside, because in Laos we are still having a big portions of people who can't really access into like good healthcare, good drinking waters, and good food. Maybe with this platform and technologies, and a little bit with the collaboration with the governments, I think like there will be another big project coming up for this country between Otadi and the nation itself. Yeah, we have plans to launch a few things next year. Yep.
Okay, so, I'm very interested to get to know GoTeddy more in the chat but before we go to the technical bits, why a teddy bear? Could you share us the philosophy behind the name of GoTeddy?
I mean, this is the questions that I always get asked. Even like every time that I pitch to the investor, they'll be like, "Why teddy bear?" And the worst than that is like they ask me, "Why teddy bear doesn't have eyes?" I was like, I mean, I don't really have like the reasons behind this logos or this branding. It was just like the initial ideas of me coming. It was like I look at the demographics of the peoples in this country, and it turned out to be like the average age of the people in this country is like 24 years old. Average, like the mean age,
Mm.
like the whole country, which is like very young. So before starting the company, because I am a person who is very emphasizing on branding. So before making the brands, I look at the demography and I see like most of the audience are like very young teenagers. So I try to come up with like something very lively, cute, and adorable to grab attentions. That's why I came up with the name like a no, not the name yet. I came up with the bear as an icons, but that doesn't really indicate like doesn't give you a sense of like becoming like a delivery app. It was just like a bear. So I was trying to combine something with like something that makes it feel like the speed or something that makes it move, So I decided to combine with the rockets, many rockets that are trying to dress with this bear, and at the end we found one rocket that comes that can combine with the bear perfectly, and yeah, and finally with just like the teddy, it's just is part of the copyrights of the artist company or other organizations already. So you can't really use that name. So I was like brainstorming the final names. Whether it's gonna be like Teddy Go Teddy, and that's also part of the branding strategy as well. We decided to use Go Teddy, and every service that we are trying to do, we're gonna come up with like Teddy Eat, Teddy Shop, Teddy Ship, Teddy Chart, Teddy Ticket, and Teddy Pay. So this is the gimmicks of the branding that we are
Yeah.
playing around with, and we are trying to create like the characters for each service. Uh, and we actually have the name for this bear. His name is Frank. We are trying to make these persons become become like a become the things that people love. We are trying to dress and build these guy characters. Yeah, it's part of the developments and research. Like, how can you make people feel attached with the brands?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why we are very emphasizing on the branding part. Yeah.
I think it's a really fun logo though. A teddy and a rocket.
Yeah,
Nice.
but soon we are gonna do like a rebranding, but it's not gonna be so much different from the initial ones. But it's gonna be more like more high tech, more like a tech company.
Let's go back to the discussion about the emerging startup ecosystem in your region.
Hmm.
And you mentioned about having competitors. So, and I also noticed, right, if the startup ecosystem is growing, there are potentially there gonna be a market disruptor, because yeah, you initially was a market disruptor as well up until now. So how did you always get on your feet to so that your competitors wouldn't disrupt you?
Okay, so yeah, I mean that's a very tough question to answer, basically. Yeah, so right now so let's talk about the whole ecosystem of the startup in these regions or in my country first. The ecosystem right now is getting better and better because we have more of like incubators and accelerators joining the whole ecosystem. We have the educational institutions who is actively adding the entrepreneurship and startup contents into the course, and we have the government's events, the startup events hosted by the governments quite often these days. We have big banks trying to enter into the startup by organizing like a pitching competitions. Whoever wins get the prize and stuff. So all these things make up like the whole startup ecosystem. Even though the ecosystem is not completed yet, but I can see the startup ecosystem in Laos to be big in the next 3 years, because right now I can see like so many young entrepreneurs who are like 18, 19, 16, like doing their own startup. Last week I just attended the pitching events on Love Startup Fest. I was like very impressed with the ideas and the ways that they pitch. It's just like, what's next after you have an ideas? Where can you receive the capitals? Where you can get the funding? So if the VC and the angel investors doesn't are not really like actively contributing into the startup, so there's no point of these young entrepreneurs to create the ventures and to get funding. So this is something that we also need, like the supports and contributions from international investors, maybe like a VC from Singapore, Thailand, Indonesia, angel investor or something like that. The governments need to help us on promoting or taking in the the international VC to pour some money in the country. Yeah, that's the ecosystem. I think that the main things that we are lacking of is the capitals and fundings. It's very hard to access. So even for GoTD right now, we don't really look for a domestic investors, but but more like outsiders. Yeah, because in here you can't really see anyone's. Even though we have like a VC, but angels, they are not really like active. You know what I mean? They're not really like active into it. So that's a small issues about the Laos ecosystem, about the startup. And in terms of the competitors, right now we have a few local competitors, and we have one big multinational company. The good things about having the competitor is like it helps in generate demands and it helps in expanding the market size of the business itself. Yeah, so the competitor also helps on educating people on how to adopt the technology, which I think is a win-win for us. We don't really have like big budgets to do like marketings. Uh, you guys will be surprised about like the monthly budgets that we spent for the company. It was like less than 3,000 US dollars only, whereas the competitors they are doing like I think like 20 times more because they have like our home years, everything like really mass. They do subsidiaries, buy one get one free delivery, 50% off everything, but we are still doing good.
I was fascinated with startups ecosystem, and hearing that it's growing, it's emerging is like, in a way startup is like empower the people as well, just like you said, it's educating the people who are not really digitally savvy to adopt technology to help their life. It's also create a job opportunities to the people as well. So do you plan to expand to another ASEAN market?
The plan is to be strong in your homegrown market before expanding. So the next destinations or the next potential markets that we are planning to go is Cambodia and Myanmar. So these two markets we have been doing some researches for the past 2 years since they once that we started this company. Yeah, so we look into the market characteristics, populations, the potentials, the competitive landscape, and everything already, and we can feel that in the Asian regions, these are the two next country that can possibly uh, bring GoTeddy in because let's say Jakarta's Gojek, Grab, everything is already there. Thailand, four big players, Grab, Lineman, Gojek, like Uber, so many big players. But in this country like Myanmar and Cambodia, the competition is not so steep yet. There is like a few big companies there, but the market is like really big. And I feel like the consumer behavior and the cultures are very similar to Lao people's. They have a very young population as well. The growth of the growth of the economics are a very similar stage, and the ways that people live the life are also like very similar. So we kind of like understand their culture a little bit, and we are just like observing from distance, like every day to see like when is the best time to go. Yeah, but anyways, it has to be based on the performance in this country. If we can, like execute the plan well, then that will be like very quick and fast for us to expand into international markets. So that part, I guess, it really depends on us and our team, like how fast we can grow. But the plan for expansion into international market is definitely 100%.
So, what do you think about Pasong's perspective on the emerging startup culture in ASEAN? I hope this could inspire more people to build a transformative and innovative startup ecosystem in the region. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel so you could hear more insightful episodes in our ASEAN Champion podcast, now also available in our podcast platforms.